All right, welcome back. I think this next story cuts a number of ways. The blue-collar cash author and former construction worker Ken Rusk, he says employers are looking towards skilled workers because they're fed up with what's coming out of our colleges. The study was called the Freedom Economy Index, and it surveyed 70,000 small businesses. Now, these small businesses were asked about the return on investment, that ROI, when it comes to higher education. And a whopping 67 responded strongly no when they were asked if they believed the universities were graduating students with relevant skills that today's business communities need. An additional 25% responded somewhat no. So there you have it, 91% no or somewhat no on the return on investment of higher education. Now, that does not surprise me at all. I mean, just look at the reasoning skills these students display when they're openly supporting Hamas. Just what is being taught to these kids nowadays? My next guest employs a lot of young people. She's got a big firm. That's Rebecca Walser. Thank you very much, Rebecca, president of the Walser Wealth Management Group. You've got a slew of people. What are your thoughts on this return on investment when it comes to these educations?
Well, there's two things, and I want to go to the statistics of it because, I'm a math nut and nerd. And so I just want to point out 70,000 people being surveyed is phenomenal, but the 905 people responded with a confidence of a margin of error of only 3%, a 95% confidence score. So I say that, Scott, because I want to tell you that these results are statistically significant, meaning that it's not just some small, teeny tiny sample. This is a massive amount of people that replied and overwhelmingly responded, no, college is not worth it. What I will tell you from personal experience and being amongst a sea of small business owners that I interact with all the time, the millennials and Gen X, which is my generation, we have a little bit of a disconnect because I like to talk in terms of like movie, euphemisms, and they have no idea what I'm talking about. They haven't seen maybe Top Gun or Pretty Woman, but the Gen Zers, I think, is really where we're starting to really see this bifurcation, this separation, this kind of expectation coming in from higher education. And I will say the higher you go on the ranking scale, the more this is becoming apparent. It's more about emotional supportiveness, proactive emotional supportiveness and inclusivity, and discussing things that we would maybe not think as appropriate in the workforce, but they have been told, shine your light and be who you are in every case, in every circumstance. And then, of course, there's this whole cultural phenomenon that we're really seeing in these numbers, Scott, and that is that you got a trophy growing up for showing up, and it's somehow to be rewarded to show up. And we're seeing it now in the tip culture. I go into, I'll say Starbucks, and I like to get my soy chai latte hot, but just because I'm paying for it, I'm standing up, it's to-go service, and I'm not even using the mobile app, and they want a tip. This is the tipping generation. Like, I'm not getting paid enough, so can you now augment me by tipping me also on top of my base, even though I'm not technically waiting on you anymore. This is all cultural rot at the core that says you owe nothing to society and they owe everything to you. And it's showing up in these numbers because higher education, unfortunately, through their DEI, diversity, equity, inclusiveness training, and their, all of these World Economic Forum kind of political policies is really changing the labor force in this country.
I think you're right. I totally agree with you across the board. And I think I first noticed it when we were in a more corporate environment when I was working in London, where sometimes you get these proposals that you have to prepare for 3, maybe 6 months to put something forward to a municipality, right? And just because you put your best reply forward doesn't mean you get the contract, right? But these kids couldn't handle the fact that we would work 3 to 6 months for something and still not win. They thought that they should be paid for participating and not actually getting the job. And I thought to myself, boy, that is a sea change of thought, because I knew all along the reason why I was working hard is because just because I do a lot of hard work doesn't mean I win anything, right? And I need to get the contract from the municipality or it's all for naught, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's, we have to go all the way and we have to earn it. And I think that's a disconnect. They believe that just participating in work is an actual, worth a reward. And of course, if you are obviously, actually accomplishing something, we're not saying that that's not. But in your case, where you're actually just responding to a request for proposal and you're bidding against all of the other people that are also bidding, it goes to the best and highest bidder, or the best the best fitter for the job. And this is a concept that we would innately know if you only got a trophy for winning, Scott, and not for playing.
Right, exactly right. I mean, and that's where it's all kind of falling apart. And I don't know how we get it back together either, because there's such rot in these universities. I mean, I love a blue collar guy that just wants to get down and dirty and get the problem solved. Do we have the tools? What do we need? Let's get it done.
I know we're probably fast now, but I just want to say really quickly, these blue-collar jobs, too, are also the best choices for beating AI. The white-collar AI is going to be so much easier to be outsourced because you've got all of the knowledge in the database that synthesizes it and then can produce algorithms that can be robotically followed, neurosurgery, writing legal briefs. We've already seen this with ChatGPT. But blue-collar, everything has to be robotized, and we're talking about nuances of decision trees, like, well, did the plumbing happen, or did the HVAC this, or did the electrician do that, or the welding,
right,
that it's going to be so hard to make those kinds of intelligent robots. So if you're worried about wasting money on college and you're worried about AI taking over your job, blue-collar, skilled tradesmen is where this country is going back to, I can promise you.
Right, I agree. We had a guy say to me, I said to him, we got all this stuff going on in tech, but we could be put out of work from AI. He says, you know what? You're still going to need a guy to hang a door. I get it. Always great stuff. Thank you very much, Rebecca Walser, Tampa, Florida. Thank you very much for being on the show. Love having you on. She's a fan favorite. All right, let's, by now, I've got my go-tos. I want to get to them. Let's go.